Okay, I think you will hear me well. We are limited in time, and I will try to be with the German precision in time and with Ukrainian honesty. I will speak about this remarkable topic: how to uh, merge your game development life cycle with essentially the UA strategy for it, and when you should start. Before it, I need to say a few words about the Gamelight, about our company. So essentially, we are a game recommendation platform, and we are changing the way how games and user interact with each other. We are helping to define the best possible app for each user who is getting to our platform. And it will be a perfect match for our advertisers who are acquiring users through us. We have a bunch of game recommendation apps. We have 7 of them, and we are helping advertisers to reach the best possible audience and increase their retention by rewarding users to participate in some actions inside our app. So who am I? I'm a user acquisition manager in Gamelight. I'm acquiring users for about 10 years for now. I was working in gaming companies. I was working in ad agencies. Now I'm working in the Gamelight in Hamburg. And usually when we are speaking about a financially successful game, I need one step back. So it's always about the game itself. So the game itself should be cool. Otherwise, users will not get back to it. They will not play it. They will not engage with it. But when we speak about the financial sustainable game, so it's always about the monetization and user acquisitions. These two parties are making it either successful and in top grossing, either they are leaving the game somewhere in the bottom of the stores. Usually when companies are starting to think about the new title, they're always considering a standard gameplay development life cycle. And they're still thinking that, okay, we are making the new game on the pre-production, we will gather the team, etc. But essentially, they're not paying attention to user acquisition at that stage. Then when the production starts, nothing happens and team is taking it as granted. So like in a year when we will finish our production, we will have a great UA, we will buy users for a fraction of cost, and we will make a lot of money. But unfortunately, usually it happens the way that during the launch, some UA efforts are starting, and when company and the team realize that there will be no major effect on it, they are just adjusting their expectation, releasing part of the team, and leaving with a smaller project. To change it, essentially, UA should be implemented from a very, very early stages. So on the pre-production, team should already have user acquisition in mind. So first of all, it's much easier when you are estimating your potential audience size as a size already on the ideation stage. So if you are trying to create a new game, so essentially there are a lot of free resources as well as a lot of paid ones when you can find the potential market size for your game. So you can understand if it will be a big market or it will be just a piece of pie which you are not satisfied. You need to benchmark competitors because once your competitors are already doing something, most likely they've spent a lot of time for doing particular actions and they already know what works best. And if you see that there is no major benefit for gameplay assets for your competitors, it already can be tricky. So it might say that your gameplay may not be as attractive as you might assume. If we speak about the next 2 points, so monetization and potential CPIs, sometimes it's also missed on the early development stage when the team is thinking like, we will make this game, we will monetize it in this particular way. And there is already a certain idea about the LTV in mind, so which we could reach in the long run. But at the same time, it's worth to keep in mind what is the actual price for such users at the moment. So there are a lot of market benchmarks as well as particular case studies from different partners who can easily say you that now the price for user for this specific vertical is X or Y or Z. And if you're not keeping this number in mind, there is a high chance of failure already in the pre-production stage. So once you are having a good idea of the product market fit and you are fine with it, so there is a logic to move to a production stage. Unless you're having an issue in any of these points, most likely it's better to get back to a planning stage and revise what are you planning to do in terms of the game. Because depending on the game size, on the vertical and other factors, production can take years, or with a shorter life cycle, it can be months. But you on early stages might already know what will happen in some time, because the math is always as simple as CPI should be lower than the LTV. And if you already understand the CPI is rocket high and you have no idea how to reach the rocket high LTV, so this is a place where you should consider of adjusting your idea. During the production stage, all the game teams are focusing on the way how the game is produced, on the particular sprints, on the feature lists, on the core mechanics, which is extremely important. But at the same time, you need to think at the stages already about how will you promote your game itself. Because if the game will not reach its financial success, it will not have a lot of users. So usually this is a place where things gone bad. And during the production stage, UA managers or department itself has a lot of duties to do. So, for example, the creative production, despite the idea that it could be produced in a short period of time, they are usually done during some longer time frames. So you need to keep it in mind that you are making user acquisition assets during the whole journey of creating your game. So you're trying and defining the best way how to promote your game. Is your gameplay working? Which kind of gameplay is working better? Maybe you need to take some of your characters that you shown on the user acquisition assets directly to your first-time user experience, your first session. If we're speaking about some kind of technical activities, these are the places when usually the game team must implement the MMP. So despite it sounds easy, sometimes it takes time because you still need to pass the process. At the same time, there is a kind of UA backend processes of setting up the primary user acquisition partners. It will take time in any way. So this is a place to create everything and to create a solid background for your future and upcoming user acquisition. Usually, on this stage, there is a lot of activity for user acquisition managers related to planning. So how will the soft launch be made? So which countries will we go for it? How will we plan the worldwide launch? So what should we do on these stages and in which countries will we promote? So what are the expectations from the game on early stages, and what are the expectations during the first 3 to 6 months? So all these processes are usually adjusted during the production with kind of game team lead or the manager of the project, depending on the corporate structure. And which is more important, I know that a lot of companies during the production phase, they are using the play test approach for testing their updates. Unfortunately, it doesn't always show a real picture because play test companies, they are focusing on very specific way to test your features. But when it comes to some vital KPIs like retention, like engagement, the session length, etc., it doesn't give you representative data. So you will not know how essentially users will interact with it. And in this case, it's better to support every minor sprint when you're finishing the feature with a particular UA activity. So at one hand, to test user acquisition creatives. On other hand, at the same time, to get an idea how do these users behave in the game? What are they doing? How do they spend their time in game? Which actions do they make? If we speak about the soft launch phase, so usually we're already kind of prepared for the process. We know what should we do. But as for me, the most important part here is to conduct elasticity tests. Because while you were on the production, you might have really good results on small budgets. But once you reach certain saturation in a particular country, you could start to see that the results are getting worse and worse. And you need to predict so how much the CPI will inflate once you will reach like 40% of the audience or 30% of the audience of a particular country. So this is what you should keep in mind. And during the soft launch phase, we are always testing everything. We are making sure that all the technical things are working with a particular partner. We have the events which we are supposed to be optimized for. So everything should be prepared for the game worldwide launch. As far as you are missing something on the soft launch phase, usually it makes a huge troubles during the worldwide launch when significant budgets are already allocated and team cannot provide enough volumes for the expected outcomes. So here is a stage when essentially we are validating everything and making sure that we can afford ourselves to move to a launch phase. Because in this phase, you might face higher CPIs that you might expect. In this stage, you might expect that something will go wrong. And it's much better to delay the worldwide launch if it's available and to remake some crucial things rather than going to worldwide launch without having all the necessary stuff. And on the launch stage, it's usually a crunch time for UA. Usually somewhere in the soft launch and the end of the production, game teams are working 24/7 because they need to finish everything, to polish all the stuff. But once we are going to the launch, it's always about really 24/7 work for user acquisition managers because they need to handle budgets as precise as they can. And usually the campaigns are launching every single day and results for many of them can be kind of unpredictable because you don't know what will happen in the new country, how your new localized assets will perform, etc. So it's always crucial to make these time adjustments for you. At the same time, user acquisition and marketing is always about the communication with your partner. So you need to know what essentially the game team wants. And at the same time, we need to be sure that all the expectations are set on place and we are delivering as much users as necessary, that all the KPIs are meeting. So this is a place when we need to have a lot of attention to the game team itself. And this is the time when we are expanding the country mix. And on the post-production stage, so when everything is ready and set up, so we are aligning the KPIs and trying to scale the game up as much as possible. We are trying to make a healthy publisher mix because on previous stages, you might be focused on 1, 2, 3 partners, but once the game is going live, the game should rely on many different sources. As far as you might lose any of them anytime, it can start performing in a lower quality, etc. So I would say that the healthy mix on this stage is the highest priority. As far as we have like 2 minutes left, and I have a gift on a stage. So for one who will give me the best question. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Swag, people. We got swag. Who's going to ask the question?
Somebody need to ask question because I don't want to take it back to Hamburg.
Yes.
Does any of you launching new game or planning to launch it? What's your struggle?
Oh, here we got it. Stand up. Oh, you're pregnant.
No. She can just ask a question.
So scream and tell your name and where you're from.
I'm Dima from Florida. I do go-to-market. I've been listening to what you said, and I think most of it is very much aligned with what we're doing. But I think one of the things that is kind of missing, wondering what your input about is about like the delicate relationships between studios and user acquisition. Because at the development point, obviously you have a studio, which this is your baby, and you really want to see it succeed, but their user acquisition knowledge is kind of limited. And on the other hand, you have user acquisition who really wants the product to succeed, but their knowledge of product is kind of limited. So I'm wondering how you would recommend the optimization of the process of the communication between those two parties.
Yeah, I agree that this is the biggest struggle. Yeah, bag should be delivered.
We got a winner.
The bag should be delivered. Yeah, unfortunately, or luckily for you. So I faced exactly the same. So I was managing few games on the early stages, and yes, it's always like a baby for the team. But unfortunately, in some cases, during the production life cycle, so user acquisition manager should be the game killer. Because it can be a great game, but it will not be successful if there will be no option for it to be marketed. And the only options that I found for myself, it was like complete transparency, like what we are doing, what we are planning, why we are doing this or that way, so what will we have. So this is always like 100% transparency. And like, if you are expecting that we will have like twice better results in a week, in a 2 or a month, no, it will not be this way. Maybe we will increase it by a fraction, might be like decrease CPI by 5, by 10%. We might decrease some decrease or increase crucial KPIs, but it will not happen like it will just blast for a random choice. So it's always about extreme transparency. So this is the only thing I can suggest: transparency and reporting.
So Dima came from Hamburg, so let's thank him for coming in the middle of a war.